I'm very happy to say that we found a printer in Sao Paulo, and we're going to have my book that was translated into Portuguese, Navigating the River of Time, published soon. It's going to be an actual book that's going to come out soon. So I'm very happy about that. I think Marcia did a very great job in, finding the right printer, and we'll get that taken care of. And I must say, Daniel Costa did an incredible job of translating the book, although I can't read it. And sometimes I kid around, I don't know if it's my book, but people who have read it told me the translation is spectacular. So please, everyone, try and work really deeply inside. We'll have a meditation. And after the meditation, if people have questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them. I've unmuted everyone, and if anyone has a question, I'd be happy to try and answer.
Yeah, Stuart, I've been reading Spiritual Cannibalism again. And there was a quote by Rudy I wanted to ask you about. He says, in any situation, if we assume full responsibility for the negativity, we will become aware of our true behavior toward others. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's very obvious. Whatever situation you're involved in, whatever positive or negative energies exist inside you attract the situation. So if somebody brings a negative force into your life, it's because you're attracting it. So you really can't blame them. You have to change inside yourself, and you have to accept full responsibility for the situation, and make the changes that really keep those kinds of situations from coming into your life. I mean, it's very clear to me what he's saying. I mean, what we see in the external world is a mirror image of ourselves. As we change, the external world changes. The deeper we go inside, the more open we are. You understand? The whole nature of life begins to change. So, he's right. You've got to take full responsibility for the negativity in a situation. Because that negative energy is just telling you that's what you've attracted, because that's what's inside yourself. Now, a lot of us don't want to face that. We think we're all perfect and everybody else is living in a negative reality, but it's not true. I mean, they've been saying that for a million. Who's going to throw the first stone? You understand? I mean, people have been saying this for millions of years now. Who's going to judge anyone else? Who lives in this world without negative quantity inside themselves? I mean, none of us are angels. None of us are gods, goddesses. We're human beings. And a compilation of what it means to be human is there's positive and negative in us. And we attract what we give off. I mean, if you're in a difficult relationship with somebody, don't blame the other person. Change inside and you'll see them differently. Listen to them. Take responsibility for your own negativity. And there's nothing wrong with that because we all have it. We all have it. I mean, I'm sure within 2 weeks of finally evolving and being in heaven, you understand, we'll sit there finding things wrong. We don't like pastels, we don't like the pearly gates, you know, we don't like the costumes the angels wear, you know, I mean, there's people, you know, because there's that negative quantity inside ourselves. And we carry that from lifetime to lifetime until we finally work it out. We get free of it. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? You have a question?
I would ask you, Stuart, just about the ability to really hold my attention, you know, or you recommending that like I'm doing the double breath, like a little bit or almost the entire time.
You do it honestly. Only, I always tell this people when I show them the exercise, you do the double breathing only when you need it. If you're daydreaming, thinking, drifting off, you know, focus somewhere, then you just recenter yourself and you do the double breathing. The whole purpose of the double breathing is to open you. You understand? And well, let me backtrack a little bit. Breath, the purpose of the breathing is to expand and strengthen the chakra system. What gets you open is focusing the attention in the chakra below the navel, feeling gratitude in your heart, swallowing a little saliva to relax the throat muscles. All of these incidental things that we do in the meditation are essential to getting ourselves open. Then when you breathe in, you breathe into the heart center. The breath is life, it's energy, it's power. It will expand the heart center. If your heart is closed and you breathe there, the heart is going to get tighter. So we need to have gratitude. We need to keep our attention focused below the navel. All of these are essential ingredients in the meditation. And when you do these things, then when you breathe, breath is life, look, I always talk about this Hindu mantra called so hum, and when you inhale, you say so. When you exhale, hum. That mantra translated into English is so is I am, hum, that. I am one with everything. So I think that this, please don't send me chats in the middle of all this. I'm really not interested. It just interrupts what I'm trying to do here. So what I'm saying is that breath is life. Breath is the I am. You're taking in life. When you exhale, it's surrendering a part of yourself. And I think that this is really an essential ingredient in the development of an inner life. Because without doing that, you understand, we learn to also use the exercise properly. But you don't do the exercise for 40 minutes. You do it only when you need to do it. And when you're really open inside, then the spiritual force will come into you. And that will really expand the chakra system. That will really develop the chakra system. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I always talk about it, that the greatest gift that we've been given is this double breathing exercise. Rudy developed this. He developed it out of his studies with, great, Hindu and Tibetan masters. and he passed it on to all of us. And it's the greatest gift that he's given to all of us, because that was the very core of everything he did in his life. Everything he taught emanated from this double breathing exercise. And this is what he passed on to us. And it's something miraculous when it's used properly and we really do it. You know, and it's not easy. I mean, you know, you're dealing with yourself, remember? And none of us are easy, you know? I've never met an easy person in my life, you know? We all are difficult in our own unique way. So when you're dealing with yourself and trying to open yourself, you know, it's a struggle. But once you get past yourself and all that ego and fear and insecurity and all that stuff, understand, it's like a halfback on a football team that somehow gets through the line, and there's the goalpost, you know? Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And there are many forms of teachings in life, you know? I mean, look, I was reading a book about Sarada Devi, you know, and this was a very extraordinary being. But the time she lived in was so different than the times that we live in, you know, that nobody can live that way today. You know, the simplicity of her life, the servitude of her life, you know, serving her master, you know, Ramakrishna, and herself becoming a man. I mean, nobody can live that way. Live in little villages in India, you know. We live in a very complicated world today, and we need to do inner work that is strong enough to transform this complicated world into a spiritual life. And I think that is really what Rudy left the world. He left it to us, a way to deal with, I hate to say it, Western civilization, a way to deal with the kind of bullshit we have to deal with in everyday life today, without hiding from it, you know, without running away to live in a, you know, but being able to open to it, get strong enough to deal with it. It's a different world, you know, than people lived in the 19th century, the early 20th century. And it's a very complicated world we live in, between internet and media and, you know, all the stuff, the pressures that are on people today. It's extraordinary that anybody survives. I heard Rudy once say that it's extraordinary that anybody survives a day, you know, with the kind of stuff we have to deal with today. But we have a meditation exercise that is strong enough to transform all of the stuff into a spiritual life. We just have to use it consciously and use it to daily build our lives. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And in many ways, you know, the energy is so intense today that if used consciously, the growth can be very fast inside a human being. It simply depends on what you identify with and what, you know, your will focuses on and what you want in your life, you know. But if one decides in a very, you know, sincere way they want a spiritual life and they do their inner work, it, you know, the energy today is so strong that that energy will nurture us instead of making us crazy inside, you know, really will. It just becomes, you know, you open the chakra system and it becomes more fuel that you can use to develop your inner life. If you don't open the chakra system, it's, it really beats the shit out of you, the energy of the external world today.
Can I read one other quote? Like Rudy?
Yeah,
He
go
says,
ahead.
he says, all who are close to you will work unconsciously against your psychic progress in every conceivable way.
It's
This
true.
is not a negative attitude, but a natural instinct in us to keep others on the same level as ourselves.
Oh boy.
To grow, you must also raise those you are attached to. It means getting very, very strong. How do you raise those who are attached to you?
By just loving them and not wanting them to be anything but what they are,
Ah,
And Rudy, I mean, look, I laugh when I hear you quote that because it's been the story of my life. The people close to me, sometimes have tried to kill me, and it's a story of my life. And I used to just resent it and be angry. And then I stopped. I said, look, forgive them. They know not what they do. They're unconscious people. There's Christ on the cross. Forgive them. They know not what they do. And I think it's one of the greatest things ever written. And I'm not even a Christian, And that's how you approach that, because people that are close to you, and not doing spiritual work will often try to tear you down. They'll always find, like my family, you're studying with a crazy guru. I used to hear this shit all the time. You're studying with this one, you're doing, my son is insane. He's the black sheep of the family. He's into all this spiritual, magic and then I'll never forget, I grew and grew and it didn't bother. And one day my aunt comes up to me and her daughter, my cousin, was in the hospital with cancer. And she told she has like a month to live. And my aunt said, well, you're into all that stuff. Do you think you can do anything for her? And the whole energy changed, and it was because I was ready for it to change. So I went to the hospital and I started doing healing work that I learned from Rudy, my cousin, and it worked. The whole cancer went into remission. It was amazing. She walked out of the hospital. So, you just have to grow. And all of these things. I grew to the point where my mother became a student of mine. It was unbelievable to sit in a meditation class doing deep meditation practice with one's own mother. She used to come every weekend on a Sunday and come to class. Then we go out and have lunch and, but it was incredible, but it was my growth that made that possible, So Rudy is very right on there, right on. The people that beat the shit out of you, put you down. You grow enough and all that energy turns around. Something happens that changes all that. Does anyone else have a question?
thank
Want to
you.
work out karma? Have your mother sit in one of these meditation classes. I'll tell you, boy, it's extraordinary. It was extraordinary. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no more questions, then again, I'd like to thank you. God bless you all and for being here, doing this. I always pray every night that somebody will come along who will have enough need in themselves to not do what I do, but to work hard enough to where they can do whatever their life is on this level, to transmit it to other people, to give life. And I really hope that, pray for that in my own life. And, if I ever wrote a story, my autobiography would probably be about 4,000 pages, I mean, it's been like Ulysses, the adventure of what I've lived through in my lifetime. So, but it's what it's been. And the whole point of all this is to give it away. It's to give it away to whoever really wants to take it. And I think that really is the key to the transmission of spiritual teachings from lifetime to lifetime. And I've grown a lot. I used to be a little rigid about this and, oh, you got to, and now I'm not that rigid anymore. I want people to grow, to find their way of teaching. Not necessarily doing what I do, but as they organically grow and open and they become a servant of God and higher energy, their means of transmitting Shakti will come to them. And I think that to me is becoming a very important step in my own life because it frees me from all preconception about where I think this meditation is supposed to take people. Everybody's unique. And I think everybody has to find their connection with, and my job is to just provide Shakti, energy, to help people get there and not to restrict them that it's got to be, doing what I do or doing what this, being a Swami, being this, being, it's whatever, really grows up inside them organically in their connection with God. I think that is the key to the transmission of Shakti from literally generation to generation. Okay, anyway, God bless you all and thank you. And there'll be a class tomorrow evening. Looking forward to seeing everybody and take the energy with you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Take it into your everyday life and allow it to really guide you. And so bless you all. Thank you. See you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.